For over 23 years, the INROADS program has been helping to recruit and train minority youth and prepare them for the corporate world. It's a Philadelphia success story, and that's our focus today on News Probe. I'm Barbara Grant, and we'll be back in a minute. Morning, and I'd like to introduce you to some of the people who make INROADS happen and make it important. Ronald Mitchell, who's Managing Director of INROADS Philadelphia. Adriana Torres, who is one of their interns now at Meridian Bank.
Meridian Asset Management.
Okay. And David W. Brown, who's with Greater Atlantic Health Services. And welcome, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For people who don't know, what is INROADS?
Barbara, INROADS is a national nonprofit career development organization who has a mission to develop and place talented minority in business and industry and also prepare them for corporate and community leadership roles.
One of your best products, I would imagine, is sitting right in the midst of us. Adriana, what led you to INROADS, and what has your experience been?
Okay. I started out through a counselor in high school, and they had a meeting, and they said that there was an organization called INROADS that was trying to recruit interns. And they came over to this high school, and I talked with one of the representatives from INROADS, and she really explained how worthwhile it was to be a part of it. And I thought it was a unique experience because coming out of high school and having a job at the level that they're offering is, I mean, it's hard to get. So after that, we went and I interviewed with her, and it was tough interviewing because that was the first time I did that. And we go through a talent pool where they did some more interviewing, and they gave us a company, a sponsoring company, which was Meridian, because of the major I wanted to pursue was in business administration, and Meridian fit that. So after that, I interviewed with them, and that's how it became, how I started out. But the experience has been, it's been great. I talk to students at Temple, and they always say, wow, you know, you have a good job with Meridian. And it's just an experience not a lot of people get at all.
What are you doing?
Right now, they've put me in different parts of the company.
So you can really get a good view of how it works.
Yes, I started out in Delaware Trust Capital Management. Then I moved on to Personal Trust. And last summer, I was in Reading in their operations department. And this summer, I'll be in the investment company.
Now, I would imagine a student like Adriana is going to be much, much more employable when she gets that degree in her hand.
Oh, absolutely. I think that one of the things that INROADS does do, you can have the academic background and the book training, but the INROADS gives you some of the unwritten rules on how to handle yourself, the interviewing techniques, the dress for success, the corporate politics. I mean, it's so many things that INROADS brings, and of course, the most important component is the on-the-job experience. You can't trade that for anything in the world.
Yeah. Why was INROADS established?
There's a gentleman by the name of Frank Carr in Chicago who was inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King. And after about 6 years, I guess, he decided that something had to be done. He realized there was talent in the minority communities, and he wondered how he can bring out that talent. He had a first unique idea of having them scaling mountains and all to give them survival training, but his business people said, well, what they need to do is survive in business. So by talking...
That's kind of like scaling mountains.
Absolutely. But it's a more practical way of scaling mountains for professional purposes. So he was able to get with some of his friends in the corporate arena in Chicago and convinced him that they should be able to provide opportunities for these bright young people who are the future leaders of tomorrow that are in the minority communities but for some reason couldn't get out, or the match could be made between business. And that happened 23 years ago, and we've grown to this point right now that from, if you would, 25 students, we've gotten to the point we have over 5,100. For one location in Chicago, we've got to the point we have 40 affiliates across the country. And we are working with somewhere in the area of 791 companies on a nationwide basis.
Yeah. You know, we hear a lot of talk about this idea of the Workforce 2000 and what what the American workforce will look like going into the next century. And the statistics indicate that many, many more women, minorities, and of all different kinds, African Americans, Latino Americans, Asian Americans, Native Americans, will be a part of the workforce. And I would imagine INROADS is really kind of at the center of that.
Right. Well, I kind of sort of like to think that we he had a vision long before this was happened, because it happened 23 years ago. But right now, the workforce is dramatically changing. There are a lot of minorities coming in, either being born here or as immigrants here. And I think that the workforce complexion, if you would, will change. And the companies right now are looking to make the changes in diversity right now, but at the same time maintain the professional level they have to. And they found at INROADS that we can give them both, the best of both.
A little bit of both. You know, David, when you were talking a little earlier, I thought about, well, you're right, that on-the-job experience you can't do without it. Not just because of the technical skills, I think, but just because of the corporate culture.
Oh,
that you don't understand it unless you're in it.
Absolutely. I have so many stories of people who have all the book sense in the world, but the first time they walk into a corporation, what's the environment, what's the culture like? And Ronald mentioned before about just Workforce 2000. If there is an effort, and there is certainly an effort because the complexion of America is changing and the labor force is changing, while we do have to have the technical skills, there's also that stuff that, let's say, the minority counterparts, the white counterparts, have been part of cocktail parties from the age of 8 or 9, or have been exposed to that type of environment, and certainly that has become as much a part of the corporate culture as anything else. There are so many deals that are cut on tennis courts and golf courses and things of that nature, so it's important to keep focused. If that is the goal and those are the rules of the game, we got to learn how to play both the written and the unwritten rules.
Yeah. Do you feel like that was kind of a culture shock, if you will, to you?
Yes, because from my family background, my parents never, they were more machine operators, and they never were office people. Yeah. So I was never introduced to that kind of environment. So going through it, you get to learn little by little what is right, what isn't right in this scenario, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Yeah, so I've learned.
I want to talk a little bit about dressing for success, because I see Adriana has got the knack of it. We'll be back in a minute. We're talking about the INROADS program, and it has been for over 2 decades preparing young minority students to enter the corporate and business world. And I just briefly wanted to talk about dress, because I think you'd be surprised, as you were saying during the break, that that's a very important aspect of getting in.
It is. That's what they specialize in before you even start out as an intern, is how to dress, how to interview, how to call up for an interview, not to show up late for an interview. All the things that you really don't know about, you don't think about it as much, but are very important and are what makes you stand out from all the, from the other applicants.
Yeah. What do you think is the most vital component of the INROADS program?
Probably the vital component is we realize there's talent out there, and we tap that talent and maintain students with that talent. For example, not anyone can get in INROADS, not anyone can stay in INROADS. We're very demanding. We ask them to come with a grade point average of 3.0 and high SAT scores, and a drive or ambition to go into business. Also have to demonstrate a record they have some leadership abilities, have participated in something. And then they have to maintain an academic record. So it's not just learning what goes on in corporate culture, but also maintaining the academics. So the combination of knowing what goes on in the workforce, through their experience in the workforce, and our coaching and counseling and advising and maintaining the academics, we are able to have young men and women who come out and go right into the professional ranks and fit very well with a minimum amount of adjustment in business.
Yeah, but that takes a lot of work, I think.
It does. And a lot of dedication and commitment on the part of the intern and the staff.
And the staff. What are you finding out there in terms of the reception in corporate America to people who are prepared the way the INROADS interns are?
Well, basically, I think the reception is pretty good from the standpoint that right now, 86% of the students are being made offers by their corporate sponsors, are going with them or going with another one of our sponsoring companies. In the last couple of years, we have not had one student who's come out who has not been employed in the most difficult marketplace or have gone on to school. So the reception is great, both locally and on a national basis, because of our reputation and the young people we do turn out.
David, from an employer's point of view, what are you looking for?
Well, I am looking for students like Adriana. I think that's very important. And I think that one thing that I've seen as both an alumnus of INROADS and now an employer of INROADS interns, that things are changing, things are evolving, and INROADS has been very much on the cutting edge to make sure that they the candidates they provide are, in fact, up to par, not only academically, but the corporate culture and all the rest. And that's very important because the workforce is changing, and we've got to be able to reflect the complexion of the workforce as well as the people that we serve. So that has become very much more important than it has been in years past. And Ronald was mentioning before that INROADS started 20-some years ago, and I'm even finding now, this is 1994, I'm still getting surprised looks when I bring a student such as the young lady we have here, and that she is not only bright and intelligent, but has a wonderful presentation and knows the ins and outs, as if that is surprise. This is 1994, and that still continues to blow me away.
Things are slow to change.
Yes, they are.
Slow to change. I was going to ask Adriana if you find that your corporate experience is also helping you in school. I would imagine they kind of feed off each other.
That's the best part of it, because especially coming out of high school, you haven't had any courses in college, so you don't know, you know what you've learned in high school, but not much. So when you get out there, I've been fortunate enough that the people have been able to help me out if I've had questions. But all that, I mean, in classes, you know, I actually go, wow, you know, I did that. Or, you know, now I see what's going on, or I see the whole picture. I don't just see a segment of it. So it really helps me out in the classes.
Yeah. Who is eligible for INROADS, and how do you become a part of the process? Okay.
Any student who's graduating from high school, so we take pre-college, if you would, pre-freshman, right through the freshman and sophomore years are eligible with a B average or better, that they have demonstrated they want to go into business and industry, and they do have the talent to do that, and make a commitment. And the commitment is one that they have to be in touch with their staff person, if you would. So we either will be talking to them, or they'll come in and visit the office to find out how they're doing. They have to make a commitment to come to all the training sessions. The training sessions are conducted by corporate volunteers, so we're getting the cutting edge of what's going on out there. They have to come to those. It's not like I don't want to get up on Saturday morning, or it's a nice day or in the summer. That's part of the mandatory program, if you would. And this whole process, when you put it together, begins to show those people are really dedicated, and those who stick with it do. So anyone is going to...
And so you stay through it your whole college career? Okay.
So it'll be anyone graduating from high school right through their senior year, so it will be either a 4- or 5-year commitment. 5 years right now for engineers, because most engineering programs are 5 years.
Yeah. What majors are most employable?
Right now, if you're looking at anything that's in business, engineering is popular, accounting is popular, the computer sciences are coming along quite often. A lot of the human resources areas are beginning to blossom too. So the industry keeps changing, and we are going out to recruit as to what the industry tells us they're looking for in the future, because the commitment they make today doesn't pay off for 3 to 4 or 5 years.
Oh, 5 years. I was going to ask David on the other end of this, what kind of commitment a corporation has to make?
Well, there's obviously a financial commitment to be able to provide a salary for the student for the summer months. But even beyond that, there's a human resource commitment that we have to have a business advisor, business coordinator, and a mentor that's assigned to the student to make sure that that process continues to evolve, that he or she is getting meaningful assignments, that she's taking the right classes when she goes back in the fall. So it does become a very engaging, two-way kind of relationship between the employer and the student.
Okay. Well, I would like to wish Adriana the best of luck, but I'm sure that she's headed right for wherever she wants to go. You can kind of see it. And thank you all for coming and telling us a little bit about INROADS. And it's going to be around for a while. So those of you who have pre-college students or college students, you need to spread the word. Thanks again. And when we come back, we'll be talking to the people from the Easter...
Recent graduates should consider giving their careers a head start while still in school or college. That's what Core States Bank's Reggie Middleton did 10 years ago when he was a 17-year-old honor student at Germantown High. He was recruited as a bank intern under the auspices of INROADS. That's a Chicago-based program that helps minority students make it in corporate America.
Custody, Reggie Middleton. I was in a corporate environment that I had never been in before. I mean, I'd seen these buildings from going downtown, but never knew what went on in the inside.
Middleton spent 4 full-time summers as a paid Core States intern. It was a 6-day week. On Saturdays, he attended INROAD training sessions.
We had lessons on how to answer the telephone, how to read a Wall Street Journal, workshops on corporate politics, how to analyze financial statements, a lot of workshops on professional development.
So it was more than just putting you in this position.
Exactly.
We bridge that gap, if you would, from the minority community to corporate Americans, show them.
Ronald Mitchell is the president of the Philadelphia chapter of INROADS.
They're into a professional position where they have an opportunity to show their skills, to move on from that particular point, and then they show that they're not only been hireable, but they're also trainable and promotable by their own efforts.
Some companies, like pharmaceutical giant SmithKline Beecham, take a more personal and direct role in promoting youth employment.